We're going to talk about engineering luck. So first of all, let's kind of let's level set a little bit, and let's talk about what is luck. So give me some of your definitions of what luck is.
Something unexpected.
Something unexpected.
Happens by chance.
Something by chance.
Something good that's unexpected.
Something good that's unexpected. If you're lucky, right?
Labor under correct knowledge.
Labor under correct knowledge. Okay. Well, let me ask you a question. So somebody said chance. Let's define what is chance. Who said luck was?
Right place, right time.
Okay, luck is, okay, so now we're defining chance. Chance is right place, right time. Any other definitions for chance?
A good possibility.
A good possibility. Okay, let's define possibility. Any mathematicians in the room? Anybody remember math a little bit? So when we start to talk about things like chance and possibility, what do the scientists and mathematicians, what part of their brain start to activate? What do they know about that's related to that?
Statistical probability.
Statistics and
Probability.
probability. Okay, so now statistics and probability. So what's a working, now when I'm asking for these definitions, I'm talking about working people's definitions, right? So you don't have to worry about it being 100% technically accurate, because what is? And we're not scientists, and I didn't see any mathematicians raise their hands. So if you are closet mathematicians and we don't hit the definitions dead on the mark, live with it. It's okay. It's all right. All right. So where did we end up? Probability? So let's define that. Let's unwrap that box a little bit. What's a good working definition for probability?
You know,
Percentage of a
put
chance
so
of
many people
occurrence.
in, and
Yeah.
you got so many people that are going to respond to it in a way that is probable.
Perfect. Odds,
Odds.
which is the same thing. What's your name? Wayne?
Wayne.
Wayne just said. Odds, which means I flip a coin. Coin has two sides. If I keep doing that indefinitely and you look at the results, over a long period of time, it's going to always be around 50-50, right? 50-50 chance. So let's bring this into the luck paradigm. When you think of luck, what place has monopolized and capitalized on the whole concept or industry of luck? Maybe more than many other places.
Gambling.
Las Vegas. Okay. Who's the luckiest people in Las Vegas? Right. This is good. So we all under the house. That's what I was looking for. The house is the luckiest. What do we mean when we say the house is the luckiest? Probability says that the house will win more than it loses. Now, how do we know? Probability says that the house will win more than it loses. Is that a theory or is that a fact? That's a statistical fact. This is a great group. Okay, so if that's a statistical fact, how do we know that that's a statistical fact? How do we know that somebody in a room just didn't make this up years ago and said, well, my belief is that if we set the games up so that probability is on our side, we will win more than we lose. How do we know that that's really playing out? Okay, I can make it real simple. The fact that there is Las Vegas.
Yeah.
The fact that there is one.
And the lights
As big as
And
it
the lights
is.
are on.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So when you think about it, so this is the deal, right? So we have Las Vegas. If you've never been, anybody never been to Las Vegas? Never been? Okay, well, Las Vegas is an interesting place, right? Because it's the middle of the desert, but man, they have some of the most lavish and over-the-top, enormous hotels you will ever see. I mean, these hotels have, 5,000, 6,000 rooms? I mean, they're, marble, glass, some of them have Ferraris in the park. It's just over the top. But you know what generates all of that money to sustain? Not to mention, they employ almost everybody there. The whole system. So what the system beneath all of that that's making all of that possible is pretty simple. It's this little simple thing that says, well, we're the house. And in this universe, the house wins more than it loses. So we're going to now summarize all of that to say, when you have probability in your favor, and that's a unique thing, the in your favor is a personal definition. That means you're lucky. And the reason why I'm saying it's a personal definition, because what I consider being lucky and somebody else being lucky, it could be individual things. But when things, chance, odds, unexpected things that are good happen to me, that's what people generally say, luck, right? Or when they see something that happens to you that in their world is against their probability, they say you are lucky. All right. So what we're going to try to do today is try to figure out how to use that, not just talk about it and think about it. So we're going to try to think about how to use it. So I think most of the stuff we do is kind of made up on the spot, right? Just to keep it honest and pure, right? So because I don't want to can what you don't get just to prepare you is I don't spend the week preparing for this. I don't sit down and say, hey, we're going to do this and we're going to talk about this and I know somebody's going to say that. I have no idea what you're going to say, which means I don't have any idea what I'm going to say based on what you say. So this is a work in progress. We're going to make it on the fly, but this is what comes to my mind when I think of luck, and I'm going to just give us a metaphor to work in. A metaphor to work in so we can get it. This is what I think of when I think of luck, right? That's a thing you try to get on the slot machine. So we're going to do a little 777, and we're going to break this down in a way to engineer luck. I'm going to give you something to think about, and then we're going to try to find a way to make it interactive. So let's just assume this. The 7-7 thing is there. You're pulling the one-eyed bandit thing, slot machines. You're trying to get it to turn up 777. But we're going to change this as a working metaphor, and we're going to use. This is what I'm going to want you to start thinking about because we're going to talk about it. Okay, that's the generally accepted definition for luck. Okay, now we're going to use the performance-minded, high-performance, peak performance people's definition of luck. Somebody said, "What was your definition of luck?" When it was
labor under
correct knowledge. So other people say luck is where preparation and opportunity intersect. Okay, so these are all good examples too. So we're gonna get on this side of the fence now because we are trying to come up with a model of luck that we can use. Because if we just take the whole one that luck is just something that happens to people, then who cares? If you can't do anything about it, who cares? If it's just the weather, sometimes it rains and sometimes it doesn't, then why even have the conversation? Why even think about the word? Why even, you can't do anything about it. So we're picking this side of the conversation because if luck is the intersection of preparation and opportunity, then all we have to do is find opportunity and be prepared, right? If luck is the
labor under correct
knowledge, then we need to have correct knowledge in work. But that's something we can do something about. So this is what we're going to do. This is the metaphor I want you to think about. We're going to have 3 different categories. Now these are things that I know to be inherent to progress, to performance. So that's why I'm forcing them into this conversation around luck. The first thing I want to know is change. First thing we're going to talk about is change. Okay? First thing we're going to talk about is change. The second thing we're going to talk about is, I'm going to just call it sacrifice. But don't get worried because it's not a heavy meaning. And the second thing I'm going to talk about is evidence. Now what am I doing? What I'm going to do now is I'm going to make up a story that fuses this concept of luck with practical things that people do to get better. And these are things that I am convinced will get you better. If you can control the change in yourself and around you, you become effective. You become effective. If you can understand this balance equation of giving to get, that nothing comes out of nowhere, that to put something else in your life, you have to take something out. 2 things can't occupy the same physical part of the universe at the same time. That's what this sacrifice thing is going to be about. And evidence is, we need evidence as people. We are constantly validating things by what we see, experience, know, talk about, hear, feel. We're constantly validating things. So if things aren't validated in our minds, they don't exist. So this is my question to you. And I want you to think of 7 things. First of all, none of this makes any sense if you're not trying to go anywhere. So I'm assuming that everybody in this room has something they want that they don't currently have, or wants to go someplace that they're not currently at, or wants to be somebody that they not currently are.
Yeah, that's all.
You know what I mean? Okay. That's called a goal. That's all that is. That's a goal. So if you have one of those three things, we're going to try to engineer a path to get there. We're going to try to engineer a way to make that happen. So this is what I want you to think about. Based upon this thing you're holding, everybody got a goal or something? Either something they want, someplace they want to be, or somebody they want to be. You got a concept of that in your mind? Great. How bad do you want it? This is the preamble. We're rolling into it now. We're reading the first page of the book, which kind of, what do you call the first page of the book? Prelogue. Preface. Prelogue, whatever. So this is what we're going to do right now. I want you to think to yourself, how bad do you really want that thing, that place, that version of yourself? How bad do you really, really want it? Is it something you just talk about, or is it something that's really, really meaningful to you? Something that you really, in the deepest parts of you, you really actually want? So this is what I'm going to ask you, because if you're not, first of all, if you don't answer yes to that, the chances of you getting it probably just not going to happen. That's just the reality of life. I'm sorry, but if you don't really, really want it, it's not going to show up probably. There's too many other things that you really, really have to do that's going to keep you from doing the things you would need to do to get these things. So if you don't really want it, really, and you get to define what really means, but if you don't really want it, don't worry, it's not going to happen. It's just a conversation you're having. It's just a hey, that would be nice. That's a whole different thing than, oh, I gotta do that. Gotta and that would be nice are on the opposite ends of an infinite universe. They are completely light years apart. All right, so this is what I want you to think about. Since you say you want that thing, and it's okay to be material. It's okay to be material. It's okay to be material. I know a lot of people have a hang up with that. You know, there's something not right about wanting a $10,000 diamond ring. Well, in the rules of this classroom, it's okay to be material. Because material things are massive evidence of a lot of non-material things. And this is what I mean by that. Everybody in this room may or may not think it would be nice, or, well, everybody in this room, I'll make it I'll water it down as much as I can. Everybody in this room, regardless of if you love the car you have or not into cars or anything like that, but at least everybody in this room would agree that most people can't or won't spend $200,000 on a car. Most people would agree that most people can't do that. And we don't even have to get into whether it makes sense or not. But what we do know is that very few and rare people can even do that if they wanted to. So when you see somebody that has one, once you get beyond the fact that, wow, that's great that they got a $200,000 car, or wow, they would waste of $200,000 money while people are dying in China. Once you get past that, you will still all agree that, wow, that's a unique and rare person to be able to do that. That's evidence that they've done some non-physical things that have put them in a position to make that happen. My whole point was, don't worry about material things. Don't worry about me and material. Material's okay. Might even talk about that at the end of this. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to think of, since you say you want that thing or want to be that person or want to go that place so much, this is really something on your list. I want you to, in your mind, on your piece of paper, write down 7 things in your life that you've changed to make that happen. And if you haven't done it, if you don't know the answer, don't worry about it. That's just giving you insight, right? If you haven't done that, if you don't know 7 things, then don't worry about it. At least now you know that, wow, I haven't even changed 7 things to make sure I get this stuff. That's insight. That's worth the whole lab right there. Just that awareness. So think of 7 things that you've done, that you've changed in your life to make sure that that happens. Sacrifice. I want you to also, now that you're done with that list, I want you to write down 7 things. I want you to write down 7 things that you've given up in your life to make room for things you know you need to have in your life to make sure that these things happen. I want you to write down the 7 things that you've sacrificed, given up, done without, to make sure that you have the things in your life that get you closer there. And finally, I want you to write down 7 things, material, physical things in your world that are there because of the things you have changed, the things that have come from the changes you have made, the sacrifices you have made, the actions you have taken. I want you to write down 7 things, physical things that you have in your life that show evidence of that. Let me give you an example. I'll walk you through the whole example. Let's just say that one of my goals was to gain 10 pounds, lose 10 pounds, whatever. Okay? So one of the things I'm going to change is how many times I eat a day. That's one of the things I'm going to change. The second thing I'm going to change is what I eat every day. The next thing I'm going to change is how often I work out. The next thing I'm going to change is I'm going to go, what gym I go to. That's 4 things. See, I'm going through this list real quick. Now, what did I sacrifice? Well, when I decided that I was going to eat a certain food, certain types of food only, I sacrificed everything off that list. When I decided that I'm going to work out every day at noon, I'm sacrificing what I used to do at noon, whether it be watch TV or eat lunch or whatever that is. Everybody see how I'm doing that? The evidence I have is I get a bill once a month for my gym membership. I look at my grocery bill. It has all kind of evidence and all the right stuff I'm eating, right? I have a workout log that shows me what I did last week. Everybody see how I did that? Okay, and that's just in one small aspect of my life, right? So this is the challenge. This is going to be the first big light bulb insight for some people in the room. How hard was it for you to make that first list? 7 things that you've changed. If you had to think about it, you're not on the mission. I'm just here to tell you. If you had to think about it, that means you're still in front of that. You haven't done it yet. You haven't done it yet. Because if you have to make change, believe me, it's going to pop right to your mind because change is a pain usually. If you want to, if your goal was to go to law school, and one of the things you had to do to go to law school was go to school at night, believe me, you all over realizing that you now have to go to school at night. You change your life around that. If your goal, the first insight was, how hard was it even to come up with 7 things? Some people can come up with 27 things. They're so dedicated. Imagine that I'm an athlete and I decide right now, at 45 years old, I'm going to run in the Olympics, whenever the next Olympics is. But I really mean it. I really have to do it. My family's being held hostage, and somebody says if I don't get a medal in whatever event I'm in, then I'm never going to see them again. My changes start right now. By tomorrow, I'll be able to tell you all kind of things I've changed. By tomorrow, I'll be able to tell you all kind of sacrifices that I am in the process of making. By tomorrow, I'll have evidence already. Because I will have either be able to show you all the different stuff I've printed out from the website about how to win the Olympics as an older man, or whatever I have to do to get there. It takes no time to go through this. Now, this is the interesting thing. Most people that believe, remember which side of the luck conversation we're on, right? Okay. Most people on the other side of the luck conversation, it's going to take them all year to answer this first one. Because they've never made any changes. They never made any. In fact, they're going to fight them, resist them, do all kind of stuff. Change to them is a bad word. You don't believe that thing about people are afraid of change. People seek change. People crave change. Every time you go eat, you want to change your level of hunger. Every time you go to bed, you want to change your level of alertness and your level of sleep versus being awake. Every time you go to a movie, you only go so the movie can change how you feel during that hour and a half. We seek change. People say we don't like change because you're talking to somebody with a negative worldview. And they think you're talking about negative change and negative things. So they immediately flip to the conversation of, I don't like to change. Yeah, you do. Did you eat today? You love to change. Believe me, you love to change. You just don't want to change negatively. So, everybody understand the power in this conversation? Everybody get it?
Yeah.
Sure?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Anybody want to share? Somebody give me one of their goals. Anyone, it doesn't matter if you can share it. What you got? Much more, what do you got?
To have a successful business.
Great. To have a successful business, great. What was one thing you changed?
I changed my marketing. So I was using Constant Contact before I came to Racom at 5. So I did that. I started mailing out letters to my clients or my potential clients. I got on social media. I teach classes in social media marketing. I bought new software. I hired an assistant.
That's perfect. See how much change she went through? That's that's great. How much, give me some of the things you sacrificed. What did you give up?
Sleep.
Sleep?
I don't travel as much anymore.
Travel? Okay, great. What evidence do you have in your life that you
I've done that.
done that, any of that stuff? Any of one of the first two?
I have more clients now. I still have my house and car.
Perfect. Everybody see how that works? Everybody see how that works?
Yeah.
All right. So what this is an exercise that we can all do to change the probability, right, of us getting what it is we say we want. Now, you can do this in multiple areas of your life, right? So the example I gave was in fitness. But if I have a goal of increasing my knowledge, I can go through the same process, right? So you can do this for everything. So now let me ask you a question. What if you built a habit? What if you built a habit of just doing this little exercise, even if you only take 15 minutes to do it? You just wrote down, okay, let's expand it. Let's just expand it. What if you started by writing down the 7 most important areas of your life? And then you took every area of your life and ran them through the 777 thing. Imagine that. Imagine that. What if you took one area of your life and then took the 7 most important things in that area and then ran that through the little 777 one-arm bandage luck-changing probability machine? Right? What if you just did this? And what if you did this all the time? What if that was your habit? What if that's how you do it? You know what people would consider you? Lucky. Guarantee it. You know why? Because every time opportunity showed up, you would intersect it with preparation. Right? Every time. Every time. So there was an experiment done. Did I tell you about the coffee experiment? Coffee shop? Oh, I got to tell you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll tell the rest of the group. So there's an experiment done by, gosh, I always forget the school. I want to say Stanford, but I might be wrong on that. But anyway, there was an experiment done by scientists kind of in the same conversation we're in. But they were intent on showing the relationship between people's mental disposition and how their life played out. So this was the experiment. They brought a bunch of people in the room to have a class workshop on something. Now the people didn't know they were going to be a part of it. They knew they were going to be a part of an experiment, but they didn't know what the experiment was. So this was the setup. Next door to the building they were in was a coffee shop. Next door was a coffee shop. And this guy enlisted all the people in the coffee shop. They were actors and role players. They were in on the joke. And their goal was, when people walk in and start a conversation with them, be helpful, be giving, tell them stories that are in the interest of what they're talking about, that kind of stuff. So everybody knew that was the rule. He then took $20 real and dropped it on the sidewalk, And then what he would do is, now they psychologically tested all the people in the room to see who tested psychologically as being optimistic and who tested psychologically as being pessimistic. In other words, people that were generally expected great things to happen and people that generally expected non-good things to happen. Okay? And then he would randomly send these people from these 2 groups to go get coffee for the group. Guess what happened? And then they would change groups and do it again and change groups and do it again. So guess what happened? The optimistic people found $20 on the way to the coffee shop. Walked into the coffee shop, and the person they met was the person they needed to meet. Imagine that. And they come back and they would say, well, how's your day going? They were like, oh, I'm having an unbelievable day. Found $20. I'm trying to start the school, and it just so happened the guy in the coffee shop in front of me, in the line in front of me, knows a guy that can be useful. And that was a setup, but everybody did that, right? Guess what the pessimistic people did? Went to the coffee shop, brought back coffee. They didn't see the money on the ground. They didn't have any useful conversations in the coffee shop. They just brought back coffee. Think about that in your own life. Think about how many times, because of stuff that's happening around you, that you get in this mental state of mind that you walk across and step on the $20 that you so desperately need. Walk into the coffee shop, stand behind the person that could change your life immediately, stand in front of the person that could connect you to the thing that you've been wanting to do a lot of time, and all you do is walk out with a latte. Had nothing to do with them. Had nothing to do with the coffee shop. Had nothing to do with the money being there. The money was there for everybody. Optimistic people got it. The pessimistic people didn't even see it. Didn't even see it. You know? I think that's a great idea. I think that's a great example of some of the kind of stuff we're talking about. You know, it's easy for us to kind of try to water this stuff down and say, well, this stuff is cool and it sounds cool and I get it. And, you know, yeah, if you're excited about things, then people like your level of excitement. And, yeah, that's a part of it. But I mean, the evidence will show that when you are truly engaged and you truly expect good things to happen, you are physically more able to even notice things that you should notice. Just physically, not metaphysically and spiritually and all this other cool stuff. I'm just talking about in your optic nerve physically. You don't even see the money. You don't even see it on the sidewalk. You just walk right past it. You just walk right by it. You'll be amazed at how many things can be right there in plain view, but you just can't see. Happens to us all the time. Happened to me just a couple of weeks ago. But some of you have been walking around trying to find your keys or the thing that you put down, and you look around everywhere. You just cannot see it. And then suddenly you see it, but it's right there. It didn't disappear and come back. You just physically couldn't see it. You'll be amazed. You'll be amazed when you really start to unwrap the onion of perception and how we perceive reality and all this other stuff. We're not going to get that deep today, but I'm just saying, there's some really good examples. So let me give another example of perception. Anybody ever looked at a fan when it's turning around and it looks like a silver disc? It looks like one solid circle because it's moving around so fast. But we all realize that it's just blades, right? There's actually more empty space in the fan, right, than there are blades. But this is the funny thing. If you just look at a fan that's spinning, it looks like it's a solid silver circle. And if you try to touch it, you validate that it is a solid silver circle. But it's not. It's not. In fact, if you've never done this, if you ever look at a fan that's spinning around and look at it, have you ever done this and stop blinking your eyes real fast? Or if you've never done that, you got to go do that. Because what you see is the fan slow down. You actually see, when you look at a fan spinning around, it looks like a silver disc, and then you start blinking your eyes real fast, people around you think, well, uh-oh. But anyway, just do that. Just look at a fan spinning around, and just look at the fan really slow, and start blinking your eyes really fast. The rate of speed you blink your eyes will literally change what you see. You will literally see the fan. You will start to see the blades a little bit. It'll slow down. Why? Because you're not seeing it all happen at once. In a snapshot, if you go with a camera that's fast enough, and you take a picture with a high-speed camera, the fan's not moving at all. Which is another inaccuracy, right? Because if you just took a picture with a super high-speed camera of a fan, and let's just say there was something behind the fan, and you showed that picture to somebody and say, hey, can you grab that? The answer to them would be, yeah, I can see it. I can just reach and grab it. But in the real world, they can't do that. Their hand will get chopped off. Right? So this little sidebar is just on this whole perspective and perception thing. Perception. And what the example of the fan, in my mind anyway, is an example of how if you change the physics, right? And what I mean by change the physics, you change the rate at which you blinking while you're looking at the fan. When you change the physics, your reality can change. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. It's nothing mystical about that. But in a more philosophical way, people have been saying for 10,000 years or more, in their own unique and gifted, colorful way, if you change the way you look at things, what you look at changes. Wayne died, right? But everybody says that. If you change what you look at, if you change how you look at the world you are looking at is different. The optimistic people in the room lived in a different world than the pessimistic people. Imagine that. Do you realize that two people can sit on a bench but live worlds apart? Worlds apart. I mean, the physical laws of their world are different. They just play out different. And they have evidence to prove it. They have tons of evidence to prove it. The people that are having a struggle in life can prove to you empirically by the evidence all around them that life sucks.
Yeah.
Person sitting 6 inches away from them can prove to you with all their evidence that life is a grand, wonderful, borderline, doggone, magical place. But it's the same state, same earth, same time zone, same zip code. Now, that gives us to the position where we get to choose. We get to choose which worldview we're going to adopt. One worldview says that all this luck stuff and things happen and a good guy on the bench, he just happens to be born in the right place at the right time with the right parents, all that stuff. Or you can adopt the philosophy that says, I can be the house. If I take enough control over all the things that I can control, I can be the house in some areas of my life. I can be the house in some areas of my life. Maybe I'll start off small. Maybe I'll start off with my belt line. But if I do this and I change the probability of my waist getting small, I become the house, I win more than I lose, my waist gets small. But guess what that does? It validates, because everything is locked in this model. Because I just validated, I just created evidence that I can engineer change. So if I can engineer change on my waistline, well maybe I can engineer change on my job. Let me think about that. And then if I do that, now I have 2 things of evidence. I engineered jobs on my waistline, I engineered a position change in my job. Then suddenly it comes to the point where you realize you can do this. You can engineer it, right? Now, I don't care what state you're in or what challenges you have. The minute that light bulb goes off, where you understand that you can engineer this stuff, do you generally feel more optimistic or less optimistic about everything? Absolutely. You automatically feel better about even the bad stuff, right? Because the bad stuff around you right now may be that fan, right? It may be just that fan. And what you don't understand is not solid, it's not sterling, it's spinning. And if you could realize that and somehow come to understand that and you unplugged it, then your reality would slowly start to change. And it would slowly start to change to the point where you could do whatever you wanted to do without the negative consequences. Right? Everybody get that? Everybody get the fan analogy? Anybody never done that that's going to go do it? I don't know where you're going to find a fan, but it's really cool. You got to go do that. It's the coolest thing. I sit down and I don't know but I do it. I sit down and I see the fan and I start blinking at it. It just still just trips me out because you literally see it just slow down. And then you just sit there and blink, 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 blink. And it slows down. It's really interesting. Or if you go into a room with a strobe light and you blink your eyes, depending upon how your eyes are synced up with the light going off, either you have total evidence that you are standing in a total dark room or a total light room. None of which are true. None of which are true. Right? So that's the whole point. That's the whole point of this. Any questions, comments, insights, perspective? Yep.
You're talking about something that, when I took a landmark actually, we talked about the 3 areas of reality. There's a personal reality, and then there's an agreed upon reality, and then there's the real reality. And personal reality is basically how you perceive things. The agreed upon reality is where the consensus, everybody agrees that something is so, like marriage. Everybody agrees that marriage is the way to be. And then the real reality is a rock that's in front of you that you can't get around, or the fact that you jump off a cliff and you will drop, or you're standing on the ground and it won't move. So identifying, or in the language of the landmark, distinguishing these realities gives you greater power over deciding how are you going to respond and react to given situations. When you have that power, then you can create and play the game of the 7s as you choose to do so.
Perfect. Yep.
Yeah, in line with that, we create our reality. We are very powerful creators. We create the good, the bad, the ugly. And we have far more control than we give ourselves credit for. So nothing happens to us. We set it all in motion. And that's it, basically. If you're a donkey in the bottom of a well and you're trying to get out, somebody's throwing dirt in you can either say, oh my God, they're trying to cover me up and bury me, or you can use those little mounds of dirt to step up further until it fills up the whole well and you get the heck out of there.
Exactly. Everybody getting this?
Yeah.
So let me tell you what time is it? I don't have my watch on today.
11:03.
Good. Okay, so this is the deal. Now I'm going to tell you, because I like to be really transparent and open and tell you why I adopt things. So remember in the beginning of this game, we said we choose to get on the side of the argument that says we can affect and change and manage these things. These are things that we can control, right? We're on the side of the argument of luck that says we can engineer it. That's a choice. But the reason why I choose that is because at the end of this road, we all agreed that I'm more optimistic. I'm more optimistic, which means I feel better about the world, not just about how the moment. I feel better about the world. And I feel, and this is an important thing, if you feel that you can beat a house, that you can build a house, the house being probability on your side, that's empowering. That gives you the perception, and I admit it gives you the perception of control. Well, it just so happens that when they do psychological testing on humanity, people from multiculturals, all these different areas, different parts of their life, different people, background, ages, religions, all this stuff, the people that psychologically test to be more happy, more fulfilled in their life, regardless of how much money they have and what they've accomplished, are the same people that perceive themselves to have the most control in their life. Understand that. Just let that sink in for a moment. I didn't say the people that were the happiest in the world were the people that were the most successful, that the people that amassed the biggest fortune, that the people that had met the greatest mates or whatever. I didn't say that. I said that they said that the people that seem to be the most happiest and fulfilled are the people, they all have a high degree of perceived control in their life. So put some control in your life. Put some things in your life that gives you evidence that you can control some things, and it puts you on the path to happiness. Imagine that. We just engineered happiness. Another experiment. I learned from my daughter goes to Montessori school, and which is a really unique and interesting thing. We might do a whole lab on some of the things they talk about there. But anyway, it's so different than regular school. I went to a seminar where the person was just explaining why they engineered the classroom to be a certain way. And all she did for an hour was to give experiments on people. And she said, I'm not going to here to sell anything. I'm going to tell you these experiments, what came out of experiments, and you can draw your own conclusions, which I thought was brilliant. Because you can tell these experiments, I love to hear them because I just use the result. I don't go through trying to dissect experiment. I just use the result, right? So this was the experiment. People in a class, and they were in a classroom, and they were all given, these are adults, by the way, not children, but these were adults in the class, and they were given anagrams. Anagrams are very hard word puzzles. You got to concentrate to, So and they said, okay, but the experiment was to see, they were going to test this whole perception of control thing. But they didn't know, the class didn't know it. The class just thought it was a aptitude test to see how smart people were and that kind of thing. So they gave them all these anagrams, and they said, okay, class, I'm sorry to tell you, first of all, we appreciate you coming out and helping us out with the experiment, but I'm sorry to tell you that today's the day they have to work on the fire alarm. And it's the only day they can come for months. So this is the deal we'll make with you. If the alarm goes off, and you find that it's too noisy for you to concentrate, we will cut the alarm off and let you do the test in silence. It's going to be really hard for us, though, because it's going to be months for us to have to come back, and the kids are going to have to deal with it. So if you can deal with it, we would appreciate it. And they let the people take the class, and sure enough, the alarm went off. People didn't. People just grinned and bear it, and they struggled through the test and did the test. Next class comes in. Same story, but they say the difference is, hey, today's the day they have to fix the alarms. Sorry, there's nothing we can do about it. You guys are just on a, bad day. So do the best you can. We know the alarm's going to be a little bit annoying. Sorry. Alarm goes off. They go through the test. Now, the only difference in the two classes was that one class perceived they had control, that they could cut the alarm off if they wanted to. although they never did. Guess what? They keep doing this over and over and over and over and over. The class that had the option always outperformed the class that didn't. Think about that. Now, anagrams are a intellectual test, right? So which means the class that perceived they had the most control actually performed smarter, performed better than the class that didn't perceive they have control. Think about that in your own life. Think about where in areas of your life you feel you have control and where in areas of your life you don't. Now ask yourself the question, based on that experiment, what implications could that mean in my life, right? You know, just the little thing of control. So in the Montessori school, that's why, if you hear, when people hear about Montessori, they let the kids do whatever they want to do and they can run around and explore whatever creative. That's not really what's happening. It's perceived control. In a Montessori school, like there's a lesson, let's just say there's a math lesson that the kid needs to learn at a certain age level. The teacher knows 15 different ways to teach that lesson. The child has complete control over which one of the 15 ways they want to learn it. Now think about the implications of that. You get both. You get the child perceiving they have control, and you get the teacher teaching the lesson. That's what that's about. So now think about this as you play it out in your life. Where you have control, where you don't have control. When you do things like this, when you write down goals, let's just look at a really simple thing that every success person in the world will tell you to do. Write down your goals, right? Write them down. Put a plan in place. Does just having a plan give you more or less control? More. So just that act, now you see why just writing them down can be helpful. It's the control, it's the perception thing. Everybody was still with me in this conversation? Connie, you had a question, comment?
Oh, no, I just was gonna analogy, but you're already going there as far as how it correlates so 100% to, you know, whatever your goal is, then you can change it to make it happen, and that's the evidence, you know, just, it is so, that's just a great metaphor.
Okay, now, I'm going to give you more reason to do this. What I'm trying to do now, I'm selling it. I'm trying to sell you on this idea of using tools and systems that help you change for probability, and by doing that, give you a greater sense of control. So now I'm going to explain it biochemically. Different discipline, right? I'm trying to explain it different. We went psychology, we went sociology, now I'm going to try to explain it biochemically. It turns out that people much smarter than me that have done a whole bunch of tests. Okay, your body has, you know, your body creates hormones and chemicals inside. Everybody know, we at least know that much about chemistry, right? Okay. All right. There are chemicals that your body creates called endorphins. Endorphins are these chemical compounds that really change how you feel. really. Like morphine and cocaine and all these things are very similar to some endorphins. Anybody ever heard of runner's high?
Yeah.
Oh, they're high. Chemically. Chemically. Okay, now one of the byproducts of endorphins is they tend to be addictive. Heroin, morphine, you ever heard of addicts?
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody know what addiction is?
Yeah.
What's addiction? Let's give me a working difference for what an addict is.
Physical dependency on sex.
Physical, perfect answer. Perfect answer. Physical dependency on a chemical substance, right? So check this out. It just so turns out that whenever you do something that builds your self-esteem, you manufacture endorphins. So now let's think about this. As non-scientists, let's think about what I just said. Okay, one of the things that build your self-esteem, and this is one thing I harp on all the time. A lot of the stuff I've read and studied is, one of the primary drives of people is to be right. It's just to be right. Not about your argument, about how you view the world and how you say the world works. And every time you're right about that, you build a self-esteem because it shows a massive control. That's like you're the commander of the universe. You understand universal law. Regardless of what the right means in your world, you know what I mean? You're like an avatar. You're like doggone a Jedi Knight when you say, this is how the world works. In my world works, if you're 6 feet tall, you get the best jobs. That's how my world works. And when I get the job and I am 6 feet tall, I was right about the universe. You know what that does inside of me in terms of endorphins? Boom, I get a hit. to do? Get addicted to it. So what do addicts do to get their drug? What do addicts generally do? It's a really easy answer to this. What do real hardcore addicts do to get their drugs? Anything. Anything. That was the answer I was looking for. So let me ask you a question. What if we adopted this little idea of putting structure in place, changing probability in a way that gives us a sense of control? The sense of control makes us feel better, makes us work smarter. By working smarter, feeling better, we see the $20. We live in a magical place that we understand how the magic works. What kind of chemistry is going through my body right now? What do I get addicted to? Ooh, I get addicted to all the right stuff. I get addicted to all the stuff that reinforces my plan. Now, if I'm an addict, what am I willing to do to make my thing happen? Anything. That's the chemistry of it. Now, this chemistry works. It doesn't. We're an optimistic, positive group, but the chemistry is just chemistry. Let me give you an example of what I mean by that. Same metaphor, same chemistry at play. Let's suppose I'm a woman whose worldview is, well, sometimes the people that love you beat up on you. That's the worldview. That's how the universe works. So when I come home and boom, I get hit, am I right or wrong about the universe? I'm right, even though it's not good for me, but am I right or wrong about the universe? I'm right. Because I'm right, what happens? Same thing. Master of the universe. I can predict the future. I know how this world works. I'm powerful. Even though I'm getting hurt, I'm powerful in my understanding of how it works. Endorphins get hit. What do I get addicted to? Being right. So when you finally pull me out of this circumstance, and I go out into my world, what am I still driven to do? Still be right. So if I don't change my worldview, I'm gonna go find and create another circumstance so I can be right again. Now, being right in this case, in that really stark example, the point I'm trying to make that the chemistry is the chemistry, the math is the math. The probability is the probability. The worldview, though, is what puts all that stuff in line. So the same chemistry that you can use to build a mega empire, somebody else can use to have a world so small and so incriminating that they become incriminated and live in a smaller world called a cell. Right? Incarcerated. Same stuff at play. Same magic, same chemistry, same reinforcement, same probability. Do you think that people that end up in jail were more probable to go to jail before they went than people that didn't go? Yeah. Yeah, of course they did. Yeah, of course they were. 100% they were. That's how they got there, right? The probability. They were in places where probability was incredibly high. They were doing things where probability got even higher, etc. etc. But their innate drive wasn't right or wrong. Their innate drive was to be right about the world. Right. Was to be right about their world and to synchronize themselves with the rightness in their world. Everybody see how they see that? Yeah. All right. So hopefully I give you a real compelling case on a lot, right? But this is why we want to adopt these systems. This is why we want to adopt processes. This is why we want to take control over elements. Does it matter? This is a trick question. Does it matter? You guys, it's too fresh, so you're going to know the right answer. But does it matter if where you think you have control, you really do? No. But does it matter that you believe you do? Yeah. That you feel perception. Right. It's the perception, the alarm clock. Just remember that example. Fire alarm, they perceived they didn't even use it. In that case, control was just an idea. They didn't even validate the hacker. They didn't even test it. They didn't even say, cut it off, cut it on, cut it off, cut it off. They didn't even test it. They don't even, the reality of it is, they don't even know if they didn't even try to see if it was real. This is a powerful little idea. They took somebody's words to them and immediately applied it as a law that was real in their world. That's all that happened. Somebody said, hey, we will cut it off if you say so. That's all that happened. So now imagine how many times people have said to you, "Oh, you're never working for Connie. You're never gonna get promoted."
It's true.
Imagine that. Imagine that. Or, you know what? Or, oh, because you're woman, black, white, Jew, Christian, Hindu, whatever, you can't build a company on the New York. What? All you're saying is stuff. Now, if you adopt it and you believe it and you start to look around for evidence, guess what you're going to find? Evidence. Guess what you're going to find? And when you find evidence, it's going to start this whole cycle, right? It's going to start this whole cycle. And then the next thing you're going to be on your massive mission to be right. And guess what you're going to be successful at? Being right. You will definitely be successful at being right. We're great at it. We're great at it.
But you know something too, it also gives you a power on the being right and doing right, to project other people into another idea. I mean, just like right now, you're projecting us into this idea that gives us more control, and that's a big thing to have that kind of power and influence to change and to better other people's view of their life. You know, that's something that's
There's some people who will fight it.
Think about.
There's some people who will fight it, and I think that's the point you're trying to make. Is that it's such a big issue that some people will naturally fight it, especially and I'm sure you and myself and Tifa soon know people who are like that. They will fight it because of their belief system won't allow them to accept the fact that they have that kind of control.
Because they are validating their rights.
I was going to say, what are the persons that are fighting it doing?
Validating their rights.
What are they trying to be?
Be right.
One answer.
Right.
One word answer. They're trying to be right. Now, okay, let's keep it fair. What are you trying to do when you arguing against them?
Be right.
Be right.
Be right.
If you understand what I'm saying, I'm not trying to put an umbrella over it and says that Omar is on the winning team of the conversation. I'm not even saying that. Now, I may agree with that, but at the math level, it's a spinning thing. Everybody with me on that?
Yeah.
At the math level, is everybody is trying to be right. A lot of people will say that people aren't against you; they're just for themselves.
Yeah.
They're not against you; they're just for themselves. So when you start to understand this, you can change, right, the conversation. You can change the way you speak to people. When we teach you how to speak to people in the marketing side of this class, we're doing two things. First of all, we're changing the probability, right, because we're giving you something that's been done 100 times, but we're also giving you something that's huge, control. Or even more accurately, the perception of control. Because if you perceive that interacting with somebody in a certain way gives you the best result, the perception of that control is empowering. And now that you understand this from multiple directions, that little bit of empowerment can mean a lot of things. Imagine you getting addicted to the right habits to be massively successful. Imagine you sitting down at night and coming up with a plan and doing your 777 on 7 different areas of your life, of the top 7 things in the best parts of your life, and you're doing this thing, you spend all night doing it, you have this detailed, comprehensive global plan, this engineering document that is as detailed as anybody's business plan out there. That is an architect, it's a design of a house, you're the house. Imagine that, if you sit down and you draw this house in excruciating detail, so that every piece of your house you fully understand how all that stuff is going to change, what you're going to have to give up to get it, and what kind of evidence it's going to create. Suppose you just sit down and wrote that document, and you went out and you believed that document. You just did the thing. And by doing the thing, the evidence started to appear all over the place, which made you feel more empowered about everything. Not just your stuff, everybody's stuff. Now let me ask you a question. Is there anything on the planet that could stop you from building that house? No. Nothing. You know why? Because they would be looking in the face of a screaming addict. You'd be looking in the eyeballs of an addict. And when people look in the eyeballs of an addict, either they want to get out of your way or join you. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. Addicts not only bad things, there are people addicted to spreading God's word. There are people addicted to helping kids. There are people addicted to building businesses. There are people addicted to a lot. There are people addicted to winning races. that's something we can apply in this business. Let's just wrap it all up. Right? So I encourage you to this isn't just an idea, it's just a metaphor, right? That's all this is just a metaphor, but it's a working metaphor. One that gives us perception of control, which will ultimately give in real control. That's interesting. And it's easy to do. All you need to do this is a piece of paper and a pen and some time. That's it. That's it. Right? All right. So, given this, that's how I'm going to end it up. Given this, I want everybody to think of 2 areas in their life. One being the business. Let's get that out the way. One being in the business, but some outside of the business as well. Some outside of the business. It could be whatever you want it to be. Just think of 2 areas in your life. All right. And I want you to think of how today, starting today, how you're going to try this. Just try it on for size. Buffet table, right? We'll try this new deal. I never had this. I never had barbecue, antelope. I want to try it. Whatever. This is something new. And you have to try it. Just try it. So pick an area of your life in this business. If you can, pick the area, then try to break it down into at least 7 different things. Okay? So if you're in this business, you can think of knowing the product, prospecting, follow-up. That's what I mean by break it down into 7 different things. Okay? Then I want you to commit to what's your plan for being the house in that area. That's all. What's your plan? In the metaphor that we just went through, what's your plan? I won't design the house, build the house. Just physically draw the plan out. Just the act of drawing the plan might be enough to tip the scales. Just the act of drawing the plan might give you enough clarity, and you might see how all these things are connected through. So your belief in you being able to do them might suddenly become just off the chart. Because right now it may be hard for you to imagine that you can get X or be X or do X. But when you draw it out like this and you realize that, ooh, if probability change here and I win more than not, then it's just a matter of time before this happens. And if you do that every step of the way, then you realize that, shoot, the house will win. You're Vegas, baby. Right? What happens in Vegas will stay there. In this case, right? Right.